Once I could name my purpose, I could start to choose for it, making decisions for it. So this idea of movement purpose, we got to understand we're part of something bigger than ourselves. You can't just hope. Hope is not a plan. And that's where a personal purpose statement comes in. What's important to you? What's that impact that you need to make? Your personal purpose is not static. It's not you create it once and this is you forever. It changes over time. You're going to have, I will action my top 3 values to make this specific impact.
You're listening to the Credit Union Leadership Podcast, a podcast that delivers value and offers up insight that'll help your credit union grow. ServiceStar has been consulting with credit unions for over 20 years, growing them in the areas of cultural development, leadership development, and management training. To learn more about what ServiceStar can do for you or your credit union, check them out at servicestarconsulting.com.
Welcome to the Credit Union Leadership Podcast, where we inspire current and aspiring leaders. And today we got something special. What we've been doing at ServiceStar Consulting is this thing called Winning Strategies. It's a webinar we do about bi-monthly. And this is we give a tidbit of some of the knowledge we teach in some of our courses, some golden nuggets there. And we get a lot of people attend. It's free. It's 1 hour. And in this session, I got to lead Ignite Your Why. Ignite Your Why. And it's about finding the fuel in the work that you do, but not just in the work you do, really finding how you bring value to others in all aspects of life, how you bring value to those in your family, your friends, your community, what this looks like when you're focused on career, when you're focused on money, when you're focused on your faith, all this stuff. So listen to this session. I hope that it gets you thinking about a lot of things. I hope it validates some things or brings more clarity where it might have been murky. So as you listen, career-wise, pay attention for the 4 levels of purpose. And I want to ask you, how defined are you with these 4 levels of purpose? And then for professional and personal life, I want you to listen to this idea of the personal purpose statement. And I want you to start crafting your own. Here we go. Let's play the tape.
Welcome for those that this is your first time. It's over half of you. In fact, over half of you have also never seen Scott Anderley. So this will be an exciting time for you. It's also for us. If you're not familiar with ServiceStar, I think it's a little important to just briefly go over. We help credit unions like yourselves just live out their mission. And we've helped credit unions all across the country, but we absolutely believe it's important to invest in your culture. We all know that cliche that strategy eats our culture. So anyway, what we do, I'm sorry, we're all over the place, at least I am. So we at ServiceStar really want to focus with credit unions on culture and personal development and individuals all together, because it's ultimately going to lead back to your credit union. And for those that have not met me, my name is Taylor Murray. I'm excited for you guys to spend some time with us today, but also the person you came for is an incredibly gifted person. If you've not seen him, he brings such a wealth of experience and knowledge to the table. We will provide some of this information afterwards. But Scott, if you want to introduce yourself, Scott, I'd love for you to bring us together as a group and kick this off for everyone to start talking about their joy in their journey.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks, Taylor. And you can take that off. But guys, I am super, super excited for today. I think today, what we're going to talk about is stuff that's changed my life. I've gotten to work with it through, actually, I see some people that have been here a few times, like Bridget. We've talked about some of the stuff in merging leaders in the past. And as we've been introducing this, I've seen how this has lit a fire for people to take action in their personal life as well as their professional life. And the whole idea with this Ignite Your Why, all right, when you ignite this, you're going to fuel their fire. When you know what you're supposed to be about, naturally that's going to fuel those around you. And guess what happens afterwards? You start lighting the path. You start lighting the way. You start figuring out, all right, what do we need to do? How do I do this? And how can I guide others out of this? So guys, I'm really, really excited. I'm so glad you're here. And yes, it is a webinar, but if you know me, I like it that you do a little bit of work. So Ryan, post that PDF. There's a PDF that we're giving to you. And I made it a fillable PDF so you don't have to print it off and try to write by hand, but that you can open it up digitally and you can type in it to follow along so that you get some nuggets of truth, some things to think about. Because honestly, this is not enough time. It's not enough time. But what we're going to do is we're going to show you the formula to ignite your why. And what I expect for those of you that really latch onto this, it's going to be some things that you're going to have to think about over time. You're going to tweak it. You're going to refine it. You're going to make it better. And this resource will help you follow along as we do this. So let's get started with this. Have you ever been in a season where you're doing everything right? Right? You're showing up to work, you're doing this stuff at work, you're showing up as the family person or the friend that you need to be, but you still feel like you're running on fumes, where it's not as life-giving. You're showing up, but you're mentally not fully there. Guess what? Gallup says 31% of US employees are engaged at work. That might be us. But I would take a gander to say you probably know that's 69% that's not engaged with work. Now, Gallup also says they did a study of all people in the US, and they said 50% of United States citizens say they're thriving in life. Guys, if our mission is to help people win with money, for me, I want to help people win with money so they can fight for dreams, so they can start thriving. And only 50% are thriving? That's not good. What does this tell me? A lot of us, we're functioning. We're showing up to work. We're doing this stuff because it's important, but we're not fueled. So what does this mean as the problem? Well, I start thinking about my experience and where I've felt where I wasn't thriving, where I was engaged with work but not thriving, and what the danger of that is. In my past life, I was a manager. I was responsible. I was dependable. I was getting creative and solving problems. Building structure and keeping structure was really important to me as well. Adhering to the status quo that we had. And there was parts of my job that I really loved. I loved working with employees and coaching them. I loved building a culture. I loved building systems and figuring out how can we be more efficient. I loved helping others grow. I loved my job, the fact that we got to be a beacon of hope for the community. Yet, over time, I started doing less of the work that fueled me and more of the work that drained me. And I started to feel it everywhere. Have you felt this way where your energy's depleted? You might know what I mean if, hey, you worked a day and man, you had to really show up. You had to move fast. You had to solve some problems. And it's almost like mowing the yard or doing some yard work. You come inside and you're tired and you're exhausted. You're drinking your lemonade or whatever it is. And you go, man, I'm tired, but I feel accomplished. I feel good. I wasn't feeling that. I was feeling tired and I was feeling like a loser. In addition to that, one of my strengths is patience, but my patience started waning thin with my teammates, with our members, with even it showed up at my home with my family. And I remember a specific moment when the grandparents were coming. So my parents coming to go out to dinner with us and my daughter. And I remember I had felt this depleted energy. My patience was running thin. And when they came in, we got into this argument pretty quickly, right when they walked in, to the point where my parents said, you know what, we'll go out to eat with y'all another day. And they left. And I realized, if I keep going on like this, I'm going to lose the best parts of myself. I had to make a serious change. And so I started doing this research to ignite my why. And as I was doing this research, what I learned about myself, and maybe some of you are like me, I had some serious fixed mindsets. Some things where I'm like, well, doesn't everybody think like that? I had some serious fixed mindsets of, oh, no, I could never do that. That's not meant for me. So as I started thinking about doing this research of what's important, because I was getting to that point of work where we talk about what we teach is when you get to resentment, you rarely come back from resentment. And I started thinking, all right, what's the work that would fuel me? And I learned about this idea and I came up with this idea of creating a personal purpose statement. And it's not something fluffy. What it is it's clarifying. Once I could name my purpose, I could start to choose for it, making decisions for it. One of the practical things was once I had my personal purpose statement and I created it, I remember when I was walking around saying, hey, I'm thinking about switching some things. And people were like, oh, well, what are you looking to do? And I would tell them my personal purpose. And I said, well, I want to use my gifts of teaching, my values of focus, responsibility, and positivity to inspire and equip others. And you know what happened? It started to really narrow in and get clear direction. Where I started finding opportunities to easily live out my purpose. Now I work a job I love. I love what I do. I love the movement I'm a part of. And guess what? I'm not going to lie. There's hard days. There's days where I go, man, what did I sign up for? But I can think about my purpose, my why. It helps pull me to keep going. It's that rope that's pulling me. There's days where I might have conflicts with employees and I go, this isn't fun. But I start remembering, all right, why are we having this conflict? It's based on this purpose. It's because we're both trying to achieve something, and we might be coming from different areas of our purpose to live out a bigger purpose. With this ignite my why, this is the North Star. Now, once you have this, it's almost like things start to align, things start to make sense. What do I mean? Well, how many of y'all, let's talk about this. How many of you maybe maybe your first job was at the credit union, maybe it wasn't. But when you first started learning about the credit union industry and you started driving around town, did you start noticing a lot more credit unions on the side of the road? Did you start seeing, meeting people and you're like, hey, what do you do for work? And they're like, oh, I work at a credit union. And they just start popping up everywhere. It's part of something in psychology that they call the frequency illusion. Once you start learning about something, your brain like hunkers down and finds this and it validates it. And that's what happens when we ignite our why. So why does this matter to you? How does this help you? Well, today we're going to be working on this personal purpose statement. And it's not just for your career. Yes, today we'll be focusing and I'll be giving more examples of what it looks like in the credit union movement. But this personal purpose statement, it tells you how you show up everywhere. Yes, in your career, but also with your family, your friends, your faith, your career, your money, your environment, how you choose to have a fun time. When you're clear on your why, you don't just push through. When you ignite that why, you bring energy. You bring direction. And guess what? That brings hope to those around you. Ignite your why, fuel their fire, light the path. So y'all ready? Buckle up. So Ryan, hopefully, and do it again just in case some people joined late, but if you can put that PDF, if you're ready for this, today is going to be not just a webinar, but more of a workshop. I want you to do this work and think about this. I'm going to give you the tools, the formula, but just me saying it is not going to change your life. You thinking about how does this apply is what's going to make a change. So I've created this PDF for you to take notes digitally as we follow along. So as we start off, the first thing I want to talk about is we're part of a bigger story. We're part of a bigger story. And understanding where we fit in this bigger story helps me understand the value I bring. But also it helps me understand the value of my other teammates, of other departments, of my community. So I want to bring this to the 4 levels of purpose. Movement purpose. We're all a part of something bigger than just our companies. When I think about movement purpose, what pops up in my head? I think about the umbrella man. I know for me, when I started researching and I was saying, how do I live out my purpose to help people fight for dreams by winning with money? I remember attending actually it was a Service Stars PhD course and hearing this umbrella man, I said, that's what I want to do. And I believe a lot of you here today are like me and you're a part of this course. Why? Because this means something to you. And I love every time I teach on this, I always try to find an excuse to bring it in and get different perspectives on it. And I get to see how we're so much alike, yet how we find different things that's important to us. So a lot of times I bring this up in some of my talks and people bring up things. And one of the things I hear a lot when I say, what does this image mean to you? I have some people say, you know what? We're protecting our members. It's this idea of I'm a guardian. I want to protect them from hard times. I've had other people say, you know what? That the member is capable of fighting for their dreams. But I can't lie to them and say it's all going to be rainbows and butterflies. There's going to be rainy days where you're going to want to stay at home. But what are we doing? As a credit union, we're equipping them with the tools. So they don't say, I can't do this. They say, yes, I can. It might be hard. One of my favorites that I heard someone say in a group before was they said it is a symbiotic relationship. They said the credit union can't live out its purpose if the member doesn't hold us or choose to use us. So this idea of movement purpose, we got to understand we're part of something bigger than ourselves. So like by movement purpose, I would just write down umbrella man. I see that symbol and I say, that's what I'm a part of. Whether I'm part of a CUSO or a credit union, we're all saying, how do I live out the umbrella man? And then now this brings us to the next part of our funnel, which is organization purpose. So organization purpose is this idea of, all right, what is the mission statement of your credit union? I think about the purpose of Service Star Consulting. We're a CUSA. We're not a credit union, but we want to live out the umbrella man. Part of our vision is to see the umbrella man restored to its former glory and everyone being a part of that image. Well, I think about Service Star's mission. What do? We share knowledge to inspire transformational change in leadership, sales, and service. That's what we do. Share knowledge to inspire transformational change in leadership, sales, and service. If we do that, we're helping the movement become the umbrella man. So my question for you, who do you identify with? What's your organization? Is it a CUSO? Is it a credit union? What's their purpose? What's that mission statement? Because then a lot of people, we just see this. And I think our movement's great, our industry, where we actually all do look at what's the higher calling, the movement purpose. Now, where it starts to get more specific and it's not done as much is when we start getting into things like department purpose. So with department purpose is thinking about your organization purpose. The question now is, how is your department living out the organization's purpose? How's your department doing that? So I'll use an example with my company, Service Star. So Service Star, we want to live out the umbrella man. How? We share the knowledge to help people with leadership, sales, and service. So then I'm a part of the training team, but we've got quite a few teams. We've got the production team, we've got the support team, client success team, a lot of different things that help live out that mission, but I'm a part of the training team. So what does the training team do to help live out Service Star's mission to be the umbrella man? What we do is we inspire and equip. And man, they've drilled in my head, we don't just inspire. We don't just want you to go, I can do this, because then you hit a wall and you're like, I don't know how to do this. I quit. No. We give you tools to actually get something done, to say, I know how to do this. So today, some of us might already be fired up, just, oh, this makes so much sense. But guess what? We're not going to end off with this. We're going to give you a tool, something practical that you can use and do that. And then steps of what you do past that. We inspire and equip. And if I inspire, I can do this, equip, I know how to do this. This is living out the organization mission of sharing knowledge, equipping them so that they can live out, improve transformational change and leadership, sales, and service to be the umbrella man. So my question is, what's your department? And then hyper focus, look at your organization's mission, say, all right, what is, hopefully you're living out all areas of your mission, but why does your department exist? It exists to complete a very specific role to live out that mission. I've had people in accounting say, well, Scott, we just run numbers, make sure everything's okay. No. No, you have a very specific purpose in your department. You provide accurate and timely info so we can make decisions that best help the membership. You're dotting those I's, crossing those T's, making sure we're doing a good job. I've had people in IT that say, well, we just keep on keeping on and make sure nothing breaks. No. That's part of the job description. But no, the purpose of IT is we're creating systems, we're creating ways to make money with less friction. Make this a more enjoyable experience. Help our internal members make the biggest impact that they can with our external members. Some credit unions I've worked with, they have a department mission statement. For me, how I view it, in training, we inspire and equip. Now, from this, the one that doesn't get talked about a lot is personal purpose. Personal purpose. What do you do? What do you do for your department, for your organization, for your movement? And once you start feeling, all right, what's important to me? What's the impact I want to make? How do I want to make that impact? Then all of a sudden you start finding opportunities of how I can live this out. So we've got to understand where we are within the 4 levels of purpose. How can you live this out with everyone that you talk to? I love this. We're already seeing some stuff right here. Provide exceptional information and turnaround times for our members. And what I would even challenge is this personal purpose statement. This is not just for work. This is how do you show up to everyone around you and how can you bring this into work? So for me, this idea of personal purpose, I'm going to screen share again, is this idea of a personal purpose is it's the North Star. Anyone see Moana? We were voyagers. You know, if you've seen it, you know what I'm doing with my hand. But it's this idea that if I'm lost, I can look to the stars. And if I can find the North Star, it's not telling me where to go, But that North Star brings clarity of where I am and if I need to redirect. So in those moments of us when we're talking to a member and we're like, man, gosh, I don't know what's the right decision to do here. For those of you that are leaders and you got a teammate walking in asking questions like, hey, can I get off early today? Can I get off early today? Or, hey, so-and-so's getting on my nerves. Can you talk to, there's some things that there's not a rule book for. And what do we do in those moments? Well, a lot of us, we just ignore the North Star. We just keep it abstract of, oh yeah, I just want to help. And then when these moments happen, it gets really, really fuzzy. So if we can create this personal purpose and get this North Star that helps make sense of where we are in relation to things and where we're going, it shows the value that I can provide. And then if I can encourage others and I can learn about their purpose, I can see where there's complementary purposes and how we can live it out for our department, for our organization, and be the umbrella man. So with this, what does a personal purpose statement look like? Well, what I'll say first is you can't just hope. Hope is not a plan. And that's where a personal purpose statement comes in. It's not just, you know what, I hope that I start doing work that is more exciting. I hope that I start making an impact. No. All right. Hope's not a plan. All right. Think of this North Star almost as your GPS system. This is going to guide us, help us know where we are in relation to things. So for me, my personal purpose statement, if I haven't said it yet, is this idea of I want to inspire, I want to teach my values of positivity, responsibility, and focus to inspire and equip others to fight for dreams. To inspire and equip others to fight for dreams. There's a lot of stuff I did, but, and you know, going back to those hard fixed mindsets, I'll be honest with you. When I was younger, I thought the only way to do this was to either be a leader, a manager, or to own my own business where I could start training potential leaders or to work with people in the community. I had such a fixed mindset that I didn't even think about opportunities like this to speak or be a thought leader or L&D and do all this stuff to achieve my personal purpose. And what gets crazy, all right, I'll go back to this real quick, is what happens if you took this funnel upside down? What happens if you said, this is my personal purpose and what I aim to achieve? Or is there a department that uses my action and skill set? What's an organization that aligns with some of my values and what we're doing and how it can be benefited? And how does this help something bigger than ourselves, bigger than just making a paycheck? That's what I did. That, man, has ignited my why and it's got me all fired up. And I want that to happen to you. So today, what are we going to do? I'm going to give you the framework of creating your personal purpose statement. We'll talk about what's next and what needs to be done. And it's also great. I get to see some people that you've been in other sessions I've done where I've introduced personal purpose statement. You can type in the chat box because you already have a working version or maybe it even finished yet. And what I'm going to say right now, if I haven't said it enough, there is not enough time. I don't expect you to walk out of the session saying, I have a fully finished personal purpose statement. What I do expect is that you have a working personal purpose statement, that you have the formula, and you're going to think about this, and you're going to have to ask yourself some hard questions, some real stuff. What's important to you? What's that impact that you need to make? And this is getting this started with us. So buckle up, get ready. I'm going to share my screen again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this formula for the personal purpose statement. I will action my values to make the desired impact. I will action, one, my values, two, to desired impact. So let's reverse engineer this. We're going to start with impact. All right. So impact, what do you aim to achieve? That's what we're trying to define right here, your desired impact. What do you aim to achieve? So once we say, all right, what we aim to achieve, now the next question is how? How will you make that achievement? And that's where your values play a huge part into this. And then once we say, all right, this is what I aim to achieve, this is how I will achieve it. Now the next question is, what will you do to make this impact? So with this, what we're going to do, you've got the PDF, Ryan shared again, just in case anyone doesn't have it, or you can type in the chat box, I'm missing it, is we're going to go through this step by step and work on it. I'll give us a few minutes to kind of workshop some of these pieces. And as you can see, I've already told you my personal purpose. I've seen the chat box lighting up with some people sharing theirs, and there's some examples here, and this is getting the wheels turning, the cogs going. And as we go, I'm going to give you some very specific examples, very specific tools to help with this. And I want you to live out my favorite quote from Bob Dylan. Good songwriters borrow, great songwriters steal. All right. So as we're working through this, steal some of this stuff. Say, oh, I'm going to take that, and you know what? I'll refine it later. I'll take that. Let me move this word and switch this around. Totally do that. All right. The goal is to help give us more clarity so things start making sense. And I start looking at everything through this lens of how can I bring positivity, focus, and responsibility? How can I inspire and equip in this situation? How can I use this as a teachable moment? What's that for you? So we're going to start off with doing the desired impact. And then Ryan posted it right there. We're going to start with desired impact. From desired impact, then we're going to get to values, and then we'll get to action. All right. So let me screen share. And we're going to go, and I'll tee this up a little bit before we start doing the work. So let's go to this next part. Desired impact. This is what you aim to achieve. So there's some examples here. All right. And let me ask you this question. We've all heard the saying, hey, leave things better than you found it. Leave things better than you found it. My question for you is, what did it look like before, and how did you make it better? How did you make it better? Was it, and think about this in all situations of life. Maybe you went to a holiday party with some friends and family. What did you do to make it better? Maybe you were doing some work around the house. What did you do to make it better? What does that even mean, work around the house? When you go to work and you show up to meetings, or you're leading a project and you're saying, I'm going to leave this better than I found it. What does that mean? What do you aim to achieve? One of the things we use at Service Star that we love is the giant leadership voices. And the giant leadership voices, one of the things they talk about is what you champion. And if you take it, it's a free assessment. It's a link at the bottom of your guide that you have. It's to the podcast, and then you can find the assessment from that podcast. But this will help you if you're having some trouble finding out, what do I aim to achieve? What does leaving things better than I found it look like for me? And I'll give you some examples. Maybe leaving things better than you found it meant like you came into a place and there was no systems, there was chaos, and you're taking the chaos and the abstract and you're defining it. You believe that there's a power in definition, that there's a power in systems. And what I've learned is that not a lot of people like to look at a blank canvas and say, let's create something from it. It can feel overwhelming. Maybe you're the creative and you say, let's do this. Let's create order. Let's create definitions out of this abstract. Maybe that's the impact, how you leave things better than you found it. Maybe you're not the one that likes to create the new systems, but maybe you're like a guardian and you say, you know what? I want to adhere. I want to protect. I want to guard, uphold the standards, the systems that we have in place. Make sure that we dot our I's, cross our T's. Maybe actually you might be on the other side. Maybe it's not about systems and structures, but maybe it's about, hey, when I leave things better than I found it, I want people to feel valued, feel known, that I actually care about them and I know what they're going through right now, that I'm a nurturer. Maybe not just a nurturer, maybe it's a connector. You value this idea of harmony and camaraderie, and you're able to bring people together to make something beautiful happen. Or maybe something with your impact, how you leave things better than you found it, is you built a path. You identified a problem. You brought a solution, and you're able to speak up for those that may be quieter. They don't know how to say it. And you're bulldozing this trail, and everyone goes, I want to get behind that. That makes sense. So I've given you some things to think about with your impact statement. So this is what we're going to do. How are we doing on time? We're doing good. I'm going to get not a lot of time. All right, get ready. You're going to have 2 minutes after me talking to work on what's some ideas of an impact. And I'll have my screen up and kind of work through it as well. But is it even really going to be 2 minutes? I don't know. But let's have some moments of silence and you work through this, and I'll be working through it myself as well. So, not enough time, but hopefully the wheels are turning and you're starting to think of some impacts. And what I've done is you can even do some like highlight one that really speaks to you that you're like, this is pretty close, but maybe I'd change something about it. It's totally cool to do that and spend some more time on it. But for the sake of time, we're gonna move on. So the next part, let me bring it back to the part. This is we're gonna talk about value. So if impact is all right, leave things better than you found them. What does that mean to you? What does that look like to you? How do you leave things better? Now the next part is your values. And again, what I'll say at impact real quick. All right. If you look at the bottom of your participants guide, there's a podcast episode link about the giant voices. I think that will really help you identify and find a little bit more about your impact. Now, values. There's two ways I describe this. All right. So one way is I'm a musician. I love music. I think of impact as the song. All right. Type in the chat box. Have you heard of the song Hurt by Johnny Cash? Or maybe Wagon Wheel by Darius Rucker? If you've heard either of those, just give me a nod so I know that I'm speaking someone's language regarding music. All right. Well, those are not, well, go back. I'm getting trigger happy right there. Those are not the original versions of the song. When you hear a song like Hurt, what do you hear? Acoustic. It's an older man. He's singing and he comes from a place of wisdom and hurt, but he's sharing, this is what I've learned. This is the redemption in it. But the original version of Hurt is actually a 90s alt rock band. And it's a little more electronic and darker, not as melodically driven. And the voice is not as sing-songy. And it actually, because of that genre for the song, it has a much darker, somber attitude instead of a hopeful, redemptive arc. The values are the genre that we add to the song. Some of us maybe, I'm following what you're saying, Scott, but maybe another way to say it, I love food, Doritos. All right. The impact is your tortilla chip. The value is the nacho cheese or the Cool Ranch or the habanero. What do I mean? Well, we've all been to school, right? You've gone to a class with a teacher, all right? So work with me here, all right? You could have multiple teachers that you really like, multiple teachers that fulfill the same impact. All right. Let's say the teacher's impact that they want to make is to help their class be contributing members to society, transform their class to be contributing members to society. Now, how I do that could be very different. Some of us may have had a teacher, all right, and these are good things, may have had a teacher that focused on professionalism, focused on orderliness and integrity. And these are great things that helps me meet higher standards and can contribute a lot to society. Really good stuff. You may have teachers or mentors or people in your life that live out those values. Now, very good things. Now, it's going to look very, very different from a teacher who comes into the classroom to help you be a contributing member to society that's focused on humor, creativity, and let's say, is there something like camaraderie or communication of having a conversation between multiple people to figure out things? Both of these are good. Both of these still allow them to live out the impact. But the genre, the tune, can change significantly through that. So my question for you, all right, and here's something to think about. Some of us might think as you're looking at these values, well, doesn't everyone think professionalism really, really important? For me, the thing I thought about was, well, isn't everyone focused on positivity? And then I learned, wait, as I started seeing this as a strength of mine, I started identifying, oh, this is how I can help those around me. Positivity is my number one strengths finder strength. And actually, as you think about values, I'm sure that you've done some sort of assessment, personality assessment on yourself. It'd be great to bring this in and you say, what is true from these assessments? What is true from these assessments? So for us, Service Star, we love giant voices, but we also love Gallup Strengths Finder. And actually what I did, all right, great songwriter Steele. What I did is I stole my top 5 from my Gallup Strengths Finder and I put them in as my values. My number one strength, positivity, responsibility, and focus. That's what I did. And I put that in there. So what I want to do, and this is going to take a little bit of time and not enough time today, but what I want you to do is I want you to look at these and I want you to say, all right, what do these ring true? What do these correlate to assessments or things I know about myself? How do I make that impact? All right. So when you're making that impact, like the teacher, how are you doing that? When I come in and I am training on leadership, sales, and service, I'm bringing in positivity. I'm bringing in responsibility, the sense of I've got to do this, and the sense of we got to be very focused with equipping you with the right tools to get better. So we're not going to have a lot of time. but I am going to give us about 2 minutes for you to start thinking about your values, and I'll have them pulled up and be working on it as well with y'all. All right. So go ahead and get started with that. And right here, I've got 5 lines listed because there's probably if you're looking at like, oh, I'm all of these. Get 5, and then we can narrow it to 3 over time. All right. I've thought about this a lot, but it's not enough time. I know that. But I'm giving you the roadmap. And what I want to say here is, all right, take some real time. Think about this. Think about when you go to functions outside of work, when you go to functions inside of work. What is your genre? What is your flavor? What do you bring in to make that impact? And I highly encourage you, pull from resources you already have. For me, like I told you, I use Gallup Strengths Finder. I took another one called a Get Clear assessment from Ken Coleman, and I was thinking about my DISC profile and my Myers-Briggs, and I brought all that stuff together to help me focus on what are the top 3 things that are the most important to me right now. Right now. Something I'll say, and I'll say it again, is your personal purpose is not static. It's not you create it once and this is you forever. It changes over time. So your values may change over time, and that's okay. That's expected. We grow. That's part of growing. So now the next part is, all right, we've talked about the impact. What do you aim to achieve? How do you leave things better than you found it? Then we talked about identifying your values. What is that genre, that flavor? How will you make that impact? Now the next question is, what are you going to do to make that impact? What are you going to do? And sometimes this might be pretty obvious. Sometimes it might not be. For me, when I was doing all this research and developing it, it wasn't as obvious. I thought, like I said, I had to own my own business, or I had to be in a leadership position to be able to instruct and teach and coach. Not even thinking that that itself was a position, because I had such a fixed mindset and I was so narrowed in tunnel vision. But once I started to accept the fact, and I took some of these assessments that said, hey, some of your skills are communication, teaching, and compassion, I started thinking, what kind of roles would start doing that? And I started being more confident. And hey, I believe I'm meant to teach. I'm meant to speak. And then all of a sudden I started, it's what we talked about earlier. It's the frequency focus, where all of a sudden I start finding these opportunities to live out my purpose. By no means is this an exhaustive list, but these are things to get you thinking of how do you do it. I remember, so before this job, my personal purpose was I will embody my values. Why? Because as a leader, I wanted to be the ideal team player. I wanted my teammates to see me and say, hey, I will emulate that. And I wanted to embody it, and I wanted to harness it. I wanted to protect it because I really believed in the mission of my company. Before that, my younger years, I was in a rock band, and what I loved doing was putting on shows. And my thing was planning and creating events for connection. And I loved to plan. I loved to do the behind the scenes work to create events that really were something that just sparked something. Now, if you're hearing what I'm saying, my personal purpose has changed over time. And as it's changed, I still bring in some elements like creating memorable experiences, embodying this. But right now, where my purpose is I will teach. I will teach. And all of this is a part of me as well. So I want to be very clear. This is not limiting you. But what you're doing is you're setting the trajectory. So you're going the direction you want to go, instead of it being hazy, abstract, and unclear, and things happen and you start going a completely opposite way. So what I want you to do is you can look at one of these action words, or maybe you've got something else. Maybe you can already think about, what do you do at your job? That could be the action word. So let me give you an example of this. For me, teaching, all right, this is what I do at work. But then I started saying, how can I do this in other aspects of life? Because remember, this is personal purpose, not just personal work. So I started saying, all right, where are other opportunities for me to teach? So I found some opportunities with a high school group at a church, working with musicians there to teach. All right, this is how we create a band and music and do all this, but what's the purpose behind that and things like that. And I got to instruct and teach and work with that. I got to think, all right, as a parent, what are the teachable moments I can find? I find other ways to teach outside of work now. And I start finding these opportunities because this is what I do. This is how I contribute to those around me. When I ignite my why, what do? I fuel their fire. Not just the fire of those at work, the fire of those all around me. What do you do for those around you? So this is what I want to ask you to do. All right. I think the next page is you're going to bring all this together. You're going to have, I will action my top 3 values to make this specific impact, to this desired impact. And I understand, all right now, it's less than an hour. You may have not had enough time, but you've got a working personal purpose statement. And I believe there's magic when you write it. I believe there's something that happens when you say it. Why? Well, there's a study from it was called the High Performance something organization. But what they said is just having an idea of a goal. This was for like a goal setting and New Year's resolutions. The idea of having a goal, you're only 20% likely to complete it. But now, if you spoke it out, you developed a plan of how will I live this, and then you partnered with somebody to help you, hold you accountable to live this out, you were 95% likely to achieve that goal. And I believe that perfectly aligns with your purpose. Just having an idea of, oh, yeah, I want to bring a fun time, or, oh, I want to connect with you. No. Having a personal purpose statement written down increases the likelihood of you making that impact. Having a plan of, all right, if this is my purpose, what's the thing I need to do this week? And then from that, who am I going to partner up with? Who has a complementary purpose that we can work together and aspire one another to do good deeds? So I'm going to give some moment of silence again, and we'll have the next page for you to put a little more work into this. Not a lot of time. Not a lot of time. But I hope the sparks are flying. I hope we're igniting your why. And I just want to speak it again. Why do we want to ignite our why? Because you bring energy. You bring direction. You bring hope to those around you. And if you look at Gallup, man, right now, the one thing followers crave from their leaders is hope, is a plan. And if you can be confident in what you're doing, man, naturally, you're going to fuel those around you. You're going to find purpose of those around you. So what I want you to do right now, all right, and we understand this is a working purpose, but I want you to go ahead and I want you to type in the chat box, what is your working purpose statement? Let's see a few of these examples, and we're going to see how we're alike, the spirit of camaraderie, that we're part of a movement mission, but we're also going to see how we're different. What are the skills, the values, the impacts that all of us can do to contribute to being the umbrella man? So go ahead, type it in this chat box. Again, if you can't find it, it's right there. But type it in the chat box. What is your working personal purpose statement right now? What do you got? And as these pop up, I'll probably read a few of these. Look at that, man, they're coming in. I will foster. Ooh, I like that word foster. It's kind of this idea of development or bringing a home for you. Foster compassion, integrity, and creativity. Really good values. To why? To positively impact people's lives and communities. Wow. So what I love about this is not just about money, but you can definitely see how being a part of the credit union movement and the umbrella man helps impact communities. Helping people win with money can impact people's lives in a good way. I will embody. So you're going to be the example. People are going to look at you and say, this is what it looks like. I will embody my values of positivity and honesty. What a great combo. Because sometimes people are being honest. They're telling the truth, but not in a gracious way. But being able to put these together, you can really say the truth in a gracious way and really help people get some insights to empower. And that's your impact statement right there. Empower individuals to reach their highest potential through encouragement. I will model my values of creativity. I like that, creativity, humor, and empathy. And what I'm hearing from you, Ambers, I'm still thinking about that impact. And I'd highly, highly encourage you, listen to that episode that's on the bottom of your participants guide about the giant voices, and take that assessment. I think that will really, really help to say, all right, what is the impact? And how can I bring all 3 of these values there? Man, this is really, really cool. So now what I want to do, I wish I could, well, I will read them all. Ryan, we're going to save this chat later so I can look at these. But what I want to ask y'all is, all right, you've got this. This is great. This is exciting. Woo! All right, now what? What do I do with it? Well, let me pose some questions. Let me get you thinking real quick as I end this, and I'll leave you here. I want to go back to the 4 levels of purpose. And remember what I said? How crazy would it be if you could flip this? And you could say, this is what I aim to achieve. How can I achieve it? And my family life, my friend life, and with money, with careers? How can I live out my purpose through my department? Where does my department need me to bring value? And how does this live out our organization mission to live out being the umbrella man? That's what I want you to think about. And with that, here's some questions. Right. And this is the next thing on your page. So I want you to fill this out and make a commitment to yourself. Say, what am I going to do this week? All right. You got what? 2 more days, 3 more days. All right. So start off with low hanging fruit. They don't need to be big, monumentous things. All right. But what's one little thing I can do to live out my purpose? So I get momentum that's saying I'm living out my purpose. All right. So that's that first question. What's one action I can do? What's one easy thing I can do? Is it some people, they grab this and they say, you know what? I need to have constant focus on this. And I've had people print it off and put it up in their office. I've had some people say, you know what? I need to bring this to my team to live out my mission or my values of camaraderie and empowering others is let me learn about their purpose. Let me work on this with them. Please, to steal this, use it to help other people. And other questions to think about. What are you doing? Are you doing mostly work that drains you? Mostly work that fuels you? A little bit of both? Is your work aligned with your purpose? How can you find opportunities to do things that align with your purpose? And maybe instead of working in a silo, where are there other departments that might have similar impacts that they want to make? Or maybe they believe in the same organization mission, but they have a different impact that you could work with that helps you achieve your purpose. So there's 2 questions on there. And these are commitments to yourself. I want you to fill this out and say, this is what I'll do before Monday, March what? March 2nd, March 1st, whatever that day is. So you can say, all right, I'm making significant progress. So one thing I would like to pose is you're saying, what's one action I can do this week? Service Star Consulting. We love doing this stuff. We love working with credit unions that care and want to be the umbrella man. We love working with organizations or individuals. And I just want to present something to you. This today was just a taste, all right? This was just the first competency in emotional intelligence, which is self-awareness. And once you have self-awareness, then you have to have self-regulation. And then there's relational awareness of how do you understand the emotions of others and how do you do relationship management, the key part of being a leader. This is just the first competency. We have another course called Emerging Leaders. And in Emerging Leaders, what we talk about, this is part of a course. This is part of just one module in a session that we have 8 different meetups throughout 6 months or 4 months. And this is just step 1. This is just step 1 of what we call the work-life integration plan. How do you have a harmonious life between all aspects, personal and professional? Not balance, but integration, harmony, where these notes can sing a beautiful song together. So what I want to pose to you is you're saying, man, I've got this purpose. How do I live it out? Some of you probably already know. Great. For those of you that said, hey, I have an idea. I need some help. I want to be a part. I want to hear from this. So right here here's 2 paths that we have. One is the leadership path. We've got 3 different leadership tiers. I call it level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1, emerging leaders, is introspective. It's learning about yourself as a leader, doing things like today, where you're saying, all right, what is my purpose? And then from your purpose, we have other courses like how do you lead change that maybe you didn't decide? How do you discover your leadership brand, your voice? How do you speak to people? Man, with level 1, you're probably managing a bunch of people you used to work with and be equals with. How do you manage former peers? Part of Emerging Leaders, one of my favorites is leadership hacks, where we say what got you to be a leader won't keep you here. You've got to grow with your role. So a lot of introspection. And this is great for those that are rock star teammates. If you're thinking about being a leader, or if you've got someone on your team you're thinking to put in leader, or someone brand new as a leader, these are great things that people go, I wish I knew this. I wish I had a personal purpose statement before I accepted this job. Then level 2, which I would say is our most impactful, is outward focus, where it's not as much about you, but it's saying, all right, now that you know this, what's the relational awareness and the relationship management? How do you manage conflict between 2 of your employees? How do you hold your employees accountable? How do you create a team building environment where that breeds motivation? And there's a lot of action items from that. And then we bring all these, and it's credit unions from all around the world. And we get together and we share, this is what I did from the homework. Man, isn't this great? Or man, I had this challenge. And they go, oh yeah, I hear that. This is what I did to overcome it. And there's a lot of collaboration there. And then target leadership is one of our newer ones, but really good. This is for those that are aspiring executive leaders. Talking about how do I think strategically? How do I use these skills? Now, some of you may be like, I'm not a leader. All right. Well, you could take the class that changed my life, Credit Union PhD. Get people to drink the Kool-Aid of what do we do differently? Why should people be part of the credit union movement? And then from that, what does that look like when I'm serving maybe my external member or maybe serving my fellow teammates? And then, yeah, there's a sales champion if you have a sales-based role. So what I want to invite you to do now, if today amped you up, if you're excited and you say, man, I've got my purpose or I've got a working purpose and I want to figure out how to bring it to my credit union, man, I want to be a part. I would love to talk to you. Gerald, someone else on our team, he would love to hear your story, hear what you've got going on. And I want you to say, if you've got working purpose and you're saying, I want to learn how to develop this, we got a survey right there for you to fill out to say, hey, I want to talk about this more. Just share your story. And if there's an opportunity for us to work together, great. If not, I'm just glad I want to hear about the impact. So if you click that survey and you say, hey, I do want to talk to somebody about how I can live out my purpose. I've got ideas and I want to bounce them off somebody. Or if you're like, I don't know what to do next, reach out to us. I want you to type in the chat box. If you're going to fill out that survey and say, hey, I want to talk to you, Scott, or talk to someone else at Service Star, type in that chat box because I want to get excited. I want to find you and I want to be like, hey, I'm excited to talk to you more about this. So go ahead, type in the chat box if you're like, hey, I've got my personal purpose and I want to talk about what's next. How can I live this out? So go ahead, do that. As we're doing that, one thing I'll do, awesome. Fiona, I'm getting my Shrek on. I'm excited to talk to you more and hear about what your personal purpose is and how you can live it out. Amber, there we go. And Amber, I'm really excited to talk more about your impact. It sounds like, hey, I'm trying to figure out my impact. I want to learn more about you and see what that impact is. Keep them going. If you got that this way, what I can do is I can look at this chat box, but if you fill out that survey, it goes in our system. So Gerald and I, we can find you and we can talk to you and learn more about this and talk about ways that we can live out your purpose. So I want to be respectful of your time. We got 5 minutes. You've created your personal purpose. I've asked you questions. You made a commitment with yourself of what am I going to do to live out this purpose this week? Now, the last thing we ask is, hey, take this survey. Take this survey. Let us know, did it help you? Let us know, do you think it will help others? Also, this is the same survey. If you take it, this will go to my email or Gerald's and we'll find you. I can't wait to hear how this has got you thinking, but I'll come back to this. But when you finish the survey, it's going to send you to this because guess what? This is not the end. We've got another winning strategies and y'all will be the first ones that can sign up before it fills up. Next month, we got Scott Albrecht, the guy who's taught me everything I know. And he's going to talk to you about how to grow credit union membership. Who needs that right now? I was just talking to two branch managers yesterday that said, we want to win branch of the year for a third time in a row, but man, we got to make some big changes. This course is exactly what they need right now. So right now, if you fill out that survey, I'm going to go back. If you fill out the survey, you can do the QR code or Ryan, just post that link on there again. When you finish it, it'll have like a bomb countdown timer. 5, 4, 3, let it count down. It's not going to blow up. It's going to take you where you can register for that course. Guys, thank y'all so much for being here. Thank you for participating through the chat box. Guys, I'm really excited to keep talking to y'all. Thank you for filling this up, and I'm really, really excited to see what's next. Thank you so much. I'll talk to y'all later.
Thank you for listening to Winning Strategies, Ignite Your Why. I hope today has got you thinking about what is the value you provide to others and how can you show up? How can that show up in your work? And how can that show up for those in your personal life? What I didn't talk about in that session, I'll give you 2 examples of people that created personal purpose statements that helped their life. One was someone in business development. They had just transitioned from branch management to this position. And as she created her purpose statement, she realized it was about actively finding and providing financial solutions, whether it's in her personal or professional life, is that she wants to basically be an evangelist and bring joy and education. And it fueled what type of event she did for business development. Someone else who focused on event planning for the credit union, internal for the members, but also external, that's member facing. She actually realized, she said, Scott, it's probably not what you were expecting, but this personal purpose statement made me think more about me being a mother and my family. And she was telling me, we had discussion about how her job is not the traditional credit union job where there's some flexibility, there's a lot of travel involved with it. And she started thinking, how can I involve my kids or my husband more while I'm doing this or in between doing this to be the person that I set out to be in all aspects of life? So guys, I hope this got you thinking. And again, what I want to say at the end is this personal purpose statement, you don't have to be locked into forever. If you heard me talk, I alluded that my personal purpose has changed as I've grown. So if you found value in this, go to servicestarconsulting.com. We do these winning strategy webinars about bi-monthly, every 2 months. So go on to servicestarconsulting.com and look for the next winning strategy session we have and sign up. We're excited to see you there. Bye, guys.
Interested in submitting a question to the Credit Union Leadership Podcast, we want to hear from you. Go in our show notes. We have a link over there, and in that link, it's going to take you to 2 options. You can submit a question written out through email, or you can submit an audio recording through SpeakPipe. We make it super easy. Go to the link in the show notes, click audio recording. Once you click audio recording, it's going to take you straight to a website where you just press the record button. You've got 90 seconds to submit a question or submit you catching doing somebody do it right. And then you just type in your name and email address, and that's it. It comes straight to us, and we'll take it from there. So you don't need to download anything. You don't need to get any new software. You just go to this website, press record, and click submit, and we're good to go. So go to the link in the show notes. Click if you want to submit a question written out or through audio, and we'll take it from there. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time. Hey, we are on YouTube. We've got video podcasts. So click the link in the show notes. Watch our YouTube video. We're working on how to get videos on Spotify and iTunes, Apple Music, things like that. But what we've learned is that people are 80% more likely to remember something if there's a visual associated with it. So watch our video podcast, comment, let us know how we can be better. Let us be part of your journey. Thank you so much.
Are you looking to be a credit union homie? Are you looking for that drip fab? Our credit union PhD course is for nerds and nuances alike. Let's not forget why we do what we do. Limited to the first 50 participants, the credit union movement is growing, and our credit union PhD philosophy, history, and development class is for new employees and old. That has a fun and interactive 90-minute workshop feel where we talk about the motivation and passion of our early leaders and how that transforms credit unions today. Our cooperative financial institutions were strong and fast growing back in the 1920s and 30s. Let's renew that spirit of non-for-profit cooperative and get your employees into our credit union movement PhD today. Who should attend? Anybody. We look forward to seeing you there.